He hadn't expected anything to change that morning. The scent of burnt toast and fried eggs hung in the air like it always did. The sunlight slanted through the diner windows, casting long shadows across the floor. He took his usual seat, worn from habit and time, and waited for the coffee. Same as always. But when the new waitress approached, smiling politely and pouring with steady hands, something on her wrist turned his entire world inside out. That it was a tattoo. Simple in design, but impossible to forget that a dagger nestled between angel wings, encircled with barbed wire. A symbol no civilian should wear. A mark only a handful of soldiers ever knew. And most of them were dead. In that instant, Samuel Whitaker, former Special Operations Sergeant and sole survivor of Ghost Unit Echo 9, froze. He hadn't seen that symbol in over 3 decades. He hadn't expected to ever see it again, especially not inked on the arm of a young black woman serving coffee in the middle of nowhere. The room didn't just feel different. It felt haunted, and the ghosts? They were his. 30 years earlier, Samuel Whitaker had led a classified unit into the mountains of Kandahar. 9 soldiers, 9 lives entangled in secrecy. Echo 9 was unofficial, disavowed even by those who formed it. They operated without recognition, doing missions that were never meant to exist on paper. The dagger and angel wings tattoo was their own silent pact. It was carved into their skin before their final mission, a symbolic bond they took with them into what would become a nightmare. The barbed wire meant no return. Their final objective was buried in government lies. What was supposed to be a secure extraction turned into an ambush. Mortars fell like rain. Gunfire echoed across the cliffs. One by one, his men disappeared into smoke and blood. Sam was left behind, broken but breathing. The official report claimed all were lost. There were no bodies, no names etched into marble, just silence. He returned home to a country that never knew what he'd done, carrying memories that only existed in his mind. He stopped talking about the war. He stopped trying to live fully. And every Tuesday, he sat in the same booth, perhaps hoping that routine might drown out the noise that never really left. After seeing the tattoo, Sam couldn't concentrate. He watched the waitress from behind the rim of his coffee cup, every movement tugging on a thread of something long buried. She was young, early 20s, maybe. Her presence was gentle but worn. There was a quiet sadness behind her smile, like someone who had survived more than her years should have allowed. That symbol on her wrist wasn't an accident. Someone gave it to her. Someone who knew. But who? The only people who bore that mark were soldiers from Echo 9. And they were all gone. All but him. That night, Sam couldn't sleep. He pulled out an old box buried at the back of his closet, one he hadn't opened in decades. Inside was the tattered remains of Echo 9, dog tags scorched at the edges, a combat journal, and a photo of the squad. 9 men in dusty gear, grinning, before their last descent into the mountains. His fingers stopped on one face, Michael Green. The medic, the heart of the team. He'd been the first to suggest the tattoo. The one with the quiet courage and a photo of his newborn baby tucked inside his vest. He used to say that everything he did was for her, but Michael had died in Kandahar. Or at least, that's what Sam believed. Now, he wasn't so sure. The next week, Sam returned to the diner. He waited until the shift was slow, then asked the waitress her name. She told him it was Maya. Maya Green. The moment her last name passed, her lips, it felt like the walls moved. The floor didn't exist. Time blurred. Green. Could it be? Over the days that followed, Sam slowly gained her trust. He asked if she had anything of her father's. She said there was an old wooden box passed down by her mother, filled with medals, papers, things she didn't understand. When Sam finally saw it, he knew. Inside the box were the fragments of a life lived in shadows. There were badges with no units attached, a dusty combat knife, and one folded letter in a sealed envelope. The envelope had only one thing written on it. For Sam, if she ever finds you. Sam opened it with trembling hands. The letter was brief, hand-scrawled in the same print Michael used to write mission notes. He had survived the ambush, barely. Carried off by local villagers. Hidden. Nursed back to health. But when he discovered the mission had been wiped from every record, he realized he could never go back. They weren't just disavowed. They were erased that he chose to disappear. Found. Away to the States through unofficial channels. changed his name, buried his past, married quietly, became a father, and promised never to let the darkness touch his daughter. But before he died from cancer, long before his time, he tattooed the mark on his daughter's wrist while she was a child, a whisper of heritage, never explaining what it meant. I couldn't let her grow up without knowing her father had stood for something, the letter said. If she ever finds you, Sam, tell her the truth. Let her know I was real. Sam read the letter 5 times before, finally crying for the first time in years. It took weeks for Sam to make peace with the truth. His unit hadn't died in vain. One had lived and left behind a daughter. With Maya's permission, Sam gathered what he had: mission files, declassified bits, photos, and memories. He contacted a war historian who specialized in phantom units and government-sanctioned blackouts. Together, they pieced together the legacy of Echo. 9th, the story was published in a veterans' journal. Names redacted, locations blurred, but it was enough. Veterans from other buried units reached out. The families of fallen men, long left in the dark, now had something to hold on to. Maya became a quiet symbol of memory. Her wrist became a conversation. That tattoo, the mark meant for secrecy, now became a beacon. A private ceremony funded by anonymous donors. The names of the 8 men of Echo 9 were etched into a memorial stone deep in Arlington's shadow corners. No media, no fanfare, just truth. And Sam stood beside Maya as they laid a second photo of Michael Green beneath the stone, this time not in a combat vest, but smiling, holding his baby girl. Tuesdays were still quiet. Sam still came in, still ordered the same breakfast. But now, Maya always served him first, and the two often sat in silence when business was slow. They didn't need to speak much. The air between them was full of stories already told, memories already shared. Sometimes other veterans stopped by. Some recognized the mark. Some just nodded in understanding. The diner slowly became a quiet haven for those who had lived in the margins of history. Maya hung her father's badge on the wall behind the register, the dagger, the wings, the barbed wire. Not as a warning anymore, but as a remembrance. Heroes don't always come home in flags and fanfare. Some return in silence. Some leave pieces of themselves behind in blood-soaked soil. And some, like Michael Green, live on not through awards or history books, but through a single mark etched into a daughter's skin and the old soldier who recognized it when no one else did. The world may forget the names of secret warriors, but in that diner, on a sleepy street in a quiet town, the legacy of Echo 9 breathes on, one Tuesday morning at a time. Studio microphone. If this story moved you, there's more where it came from. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe to Unfold Tales for emotional, untold stories that will break your heart and heal it too.